I got out on a Wednesday. The sun felt different, harsher, meaner, like it didn't remember me. 7 years behind bars will do that. The world forgets you, and even the light feels like it's got something to prove. When I stepped off that bus on Wilmington Avenue, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The corner stores still had the metal bars. The cracked sidewalks still ran past the old car wash. And that same mural of Tupac and Easy still faded under the California sun. But the air was heavier. The laughter sounded different. And every set of eyes that crossed me looked like they were measuring something. How much I'd changed, how much I still mattered. I used to run these blocks. Back when I was 21, they called me Dee Stone, captain of the Wilmington Side Hustlers. We weren't the biggest set, but we were tight, organized, loyal. At least that's what I thought. Then one night, a job went sideways, cops came down hard, and somebody dropped my name. 7 years later, I still didn't know who. My ride or die, Tone, had promised he'd look after my people, keep the block steady, keep my mom safe. But Tone stopped writing 3 years ago. That silence said more than any letter could. So I walked those streets like a ghost coming home to haunt the living. First stop was my mama's house. The old place looked smaller. Paint peeling, curtains drawn, front yard dead. The house used to smell like cornbread and music. Al Green, maybe Marvin Gaye on Sundays. Now it smelled like dust and old prayers. When she opened the door, she froze. Her hands trembled, and her eyes filled faster than her words could form. "Dee, baby," I smiled, though my chest was tight. "Hey, Ma." She pulled me in, arms around me like she was trying to keep me from vanishing again. I could feel how frail she'd gotten. I could feel the years I'd missed. Inside, my old room was gone, turned into a prayer space, candles and crosses on every surface. "Been praying for you every night," she said softly. "Guess it worked," I told her. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "God don't fix everything, baby. Some things we gotta fix ourselves." I stayed for dinner. Canned beans, cornbread, and that same old silence that sits between people who used to know each other. When she finally asked about my plans, I told her the truth. "I just need to see the block. See who's still around." Her face dropped. "Dee, don't start none. You done your time. You don't owe that street a thing." "Yeah," I said, looking out the window at the street lights blinking on one by one. "But that street still owes me." Night hit like a heartbeat. I walked past the liquor store, same neon buzz, same old man sweeping dust that never leaves. Kids on bikes rolled by with blue bandanas tucked in their back pockets. Too young to remember when I used to run this corner, but they looked at me like they felt it, that quiet authority that never really fades. That's when I saw him. Tone, standing outside the auto shop, smoke curling from his lips, same crooked stance, same sly grin when our eyes met. For a second, it was like no time had passed. Then he dropped the cigarette, and I saw the gold chain on his neck. Our crew symbol, but heavier, thicker, cleaner. And that told me everything. "Dee Stone," he said, walking up slow, like a man meeting a ghost he ain't sure he believes in. "Ain't no way." "It's me," I said. He laughed, that deep, scratchy laugh I used to know. "Damn, bro, look at you. Heard you was getting out, but I ain't think it was this soon. Guess I made good behavior." Good behavior? That don't sound like the D I knew. We stood there, two men carved by the same streets, now separated by 7 years and a whole lot of ghosts. Tone had filled out, sharper jaw, clean sneakers, gold watch glinting under the streetlight. The shop behind him was busy even this late, music bumping, young dudes laughing. I recognized none of them. "You running the spot now?" I asked. He shrugged. "Somebody had to. You know how it goes. Things changed since you've been gone, homie." "Yeah, I see that." I glanced at the cars, at the faces watching me like I was an old legend turned rumor. Tone caught my look. "Don't trip. They cool. They new generation. They don't know what it was like back when we ran this block. Guess you didn't tell him much." He smiled thin. "Ain't about telling stories, D. It's about keeping it alive." We talked a while. Surface words, hollow laughs, but underneath I could feel it distance, distrust. something unspoken sitting heavy between us. When I asked about Lil Rico, he looked away. "Rico," he said. "He ain't around no more." "What you mean?" Tone hesitated, then said, "Got caught up a couple years back. Situation turned ugly." I told him to chill, but he didn't listen. I stared at him. "Ugly how?" He didn't answer, just took a drag and said, "You don't want to dig too deep, D. Let the past stay buried." But I couldn't, because Rico was like my little brother. He was the kid I took off the porch, the one I promised to protect. And if something happened to him, I needed to know why. Later that night, I found myself sitting on the curb near the basketball court behind Jefferson High, our old hangout spot. The backboards were cracked, nets torn, graffiti crawling up the walls like ghosts trying to speak. Every mark, every tag, a memory. I could almost hear our laughter, the bounce of the ball, the sound of Tone shouting bets over music. Now it was just quiet. A car rolled up slow, music low, windows tinted. For a second, I tensed. Instincts never fade. Then I saw her, Maya. She stepped out, same eyes, same fire, but she moved different now. She used to be Rico's girl back in the day. Now she looked like she'd seen too many nights like this. "Dee Stone," she said softly. "Didn't think I'd see you walking these streets again. Didn't think I'd make it out to walk them," I said. She smiled, but it was tired. "You shouldn't be here. This place ain't the same." I keep hearing that. Then listen. She lit a cigarette, hands shaking just a bit. "Tone runs things now, but it ain't what it used to be. Ain't no codes no more. Ain't no loyalty. It's all about money and fear. Boys you used to protect, they either dead, locked up, or working for him. And Rico," her eyes dropped. "He gone, D. For real. Word is he got set up. People say it was some outside beef. But I heard." She stopped herself. "You heard what?" She looked at me, tears glinting in the glow of her lighter. "I heard Tone had something to do with it." The street went quiet. Even the crickets seemed to shut up. I stared at her, searching her face for doubt, for any sign she didn't believe it herself. But she did, every word of it. That night, I walked home through Wilmington with my head full of ghosts. The city hummed like it always did. Police sirens in the distance, the low bass of a party down the block, the hiss of sprinklers on cracked lawns. But every sound felt sharper, like the whole hood was whispering my name again. 7 years I'd been gone. 7 years of silence. And in that time, my right-hand man took everything I built, and maybe even killed the only family I had left. I wanted to believe Maya was wrong. I wanted to believe Tone was still my brother. But the streets have a way of telling the truth louder than words. When I got home, Mama was praying again. I kissed her forehead, told her good night, and stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The man staring back wasn't the same Dee Stone who went in. This one had eyes like glass, clear but ready to break. I whispered to myself, like a vow I wasn't sure I could keep. I ain't coming back to the game. Not unless I got to. But deep down, I already knew. The game had been waiting for me, and now that I was home, it was ready to collect what I owed. By morning, word had already spread. Old faces started showing up, some to welcome me, others to make sure I was really out. The block buzzed with whispers, old grudges waking up like bad dreams. At the barber shop, I heard it plain as day. Tone got too comfortable, one dude said. He forgot who taught him how to move. Another laughed. "Man, Dee Stone ain't no myth, he coming back." I didn't say nothing, just sat in the corner, listening. Sometimes, the street tells you more when you stay quiet. That's when Reggie walked in. Old head, used to run with us before he caught a bullet in the leg. He saw me, froze, then grinned wide. Look who the wind blew back. I'll be damned. He sat beside me, lowered his voice. "You seen Tone yet?" "Yeah." He nodded slow. "Then you already know. Things done changed, D. That boy running wild. Got the young ones scared. Got the cops paid off. And word is, he don't like hearing your name." "Why's that?" Reggie smirked. "'Cause the legend came home, and legends make kings nervous." I let that sit for a minute. Then I asked what I've been holding back. What really happened to Rico? Reggie's grin faded. Man, you don't want to open that box. I already did. He sighed. Then you better be ready for what comes out. That night, I drove out toward the old bridge by the train tracks, where we used to stash product back in the day. The sky was orange, fading to purple, city lights flickering like dying stars. I hadn't been there in years, but muscle memory led the way. When I got out, the smell hit me, rust, oil, river stink, and then I saw something new, a painted tag on the concrete pillar. WSH, our crew letters. But underneath, someone had sprayed a single line of red. No tears. That's when it hit me. The new generation wasn't honoring us. They were erasing us. The old Wilmington side, hustlers were dead. And whatever Tone built on top of our bones, it wasn't family. It was a kingdom of fear. As the wind picked up, I looked out across the empty tracks and whispered, "All right then." My voice was low, almost calm. "If that's how it is, we'll see who still bleeds for this block." Because I didn't come home for revenge. Not yet. I came home for the truth. But the streets don't hand out truth for free. They make you earn it, in blood, sweat, or souls. And I had plenty of all three. You ever feel a street watching you? Like the pavement got eyes, like every flickering light and passing car knows your name? That's how Wilmington felt the next few days, alive, whispering, testing me. Word traveled fast that I was back. Old heads nodded at me with respect, but the younger ones, they just stared. To them, I was a myth, the ghost who built the block and vanished in a prison smoke. Now that ghost was walking again, and it made people nervous. I didn't come home to start no war. But every time I stepped outside, I could feel the air thick with something waiting to explode. Tone didn't call me after that first night. Didn't come by, didn't send nobody. So I went to him. The auto shop was busier than ever. Cars lined up, music blasting, kids moving product between oil barrels like it was just another part of the job. It wasn't a front anymore. It was an operation. While I walked in, conversation stopped. Eyes followed me. I caught one kid, no older than 16, slipping a gun behind his waistband as he pretended to mop. Tone came out from the back, wiping grease off his hands, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Look who it is. The prodigal son returns." "I told you I had questions," I said. He laughed, but his tone was sharp. "You still on that, huh? You just got out, Dee. You should be laying low. Get your head right." "My head's fine. It's my heart that's heavy." He nodded slowly, then motioned for me to follow him to the back office. Inside, the noise faded, replaced by the hum of a small fan and the smell of burnt rubber. Tone closed the door, leaned against the desk, and studied me. "You think I had something to do with Rico?" he said finally. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." He smiled thin. "You always were easy to read." I didn't blink. "What happened to him, Tone?" He sighed, rubbed his jaw. "Rico got caught up with some fools from Eastside. They tried to press up on our territory while you were gone. I told him to leave it alone, but he wanted to prove something. Thought he could handle it. He couldn't. That's all. I didn't believe him. He was too calm. Tone was many things, but calm never came easy when you mentioned betrayal. And right now, he looked like a man who rehearsed his story too many times. "Look, Dee," he said, lowering his voice. "I kept this set alive. You left me to run a crew with no leadership, no direction, no money. I built this back up from ground. You should be thanking me, not interrogating me. I didn't ask you to build an empire, Tone. I asked you to keep the family safe." His eyes hardened. Family don't feed itself. For a second, neither of us spoke. The silence between us felt like the last thread of trust snapping in slow motion. Then he grinned. "You know what? Let's not do this. Come by the spot tonight. I'm throwing a little something. Meet the new crew. See what we've built. Maybe you'll realize we ain't so different." I agreed, but only because I needed to see what he was hiding. That night, Wilmington was alive with sound. Cars booming bass, laughter spilling into the streets, grill smoke rising like ghosts over the block. Tone's little something was a full-blown block party, his way of reminding everyone who ran the set now. I showed up clean, black tee, fresh sneakers, the same gold chain I'd worn before prison. People noticed. Eyes followed. Tone saw me from across the crowd and waved me over, surrounded by new blood. Kids too young to remember the days when we bled for this turf instead of flexing on it. He introduced me to his lieutenants, Lil J, Spider, Cruz. They were polite, but their smiles had edges. Spider said, "We heard stories about you, Stone." "O status." I smiled back. Stories make men taller. Don't believe everything you hear. They laughed, but I caught the side eyes. In this world, respect came laced with fear, and I could feel both radiating off them. As the night rolled on, I saw Maya watching from the sidelines. She hadn't told me she'd be here, but of course she was. She knew this block better than anyone. She gave me that same warning look from before. I nodded slightly, and she turned away, disappearing into the crowd. Tone walked up, draping his arm around my shoulder. "You see? We thriving, D. No more scraps. No more small hustle. We big time now." "Looks like it," I said. He smiled wide. "You can be part of it again. I got room for you. All you gotta do is play the game my way." "And what's your way?" "Control. No more chaos. No more kids getting killed for corners that don't feed them. We making real moves now. Clean money, dirty money, don't matter. Money talks. Respect follows." I looked around at the faces, the flash, the noise, and all I saw was something hollow. This wasn't brotherhood. This was a machine. And Tone was the one oiling the gears. Before I could answer, a car pulled up slow at the end of the block. Windows tinted. Engine low. The music stopped like somebody hit mute. Tone's eyes narrowed. "Stay here," he said, and walked toward it. I watched him lean into the window, exchange words I couldn't hear. Then a laugh. Then another voice raised, sharp, aggressive. Tone stepped back, hand under his shirt. I moved before I could think. Two of his lieutenants tensed, ready. The window rolled down, and I saw a face I didn't recognize. Young, scared, too brave for his own good. Tone barked something I couldn't make out, and then the car sped off, tires screaming, smoke cutting through the party smell. The music came back, but the mood didn't. Tone turned to me, expression cold. "See what I deal with," he said. "Everyone wants a piece. Everyone forgets who runs this." Then he looked me dead in the eye. "And if they don't learn, they disappear." Later that night, I caught Maya near the alley behind the barbershop. She was lighting another cigarette, eyes darting around like she didn't want to be seen. "You were right," I said quietly. "Something's off." She blew out smoke. "It's been off for a long time." "What do you know about that kid from East Side?" "The one Tone said Rico beefed with." She hesitated. "They weren't from East Side. They were from inside." "What?" She looked at me. "Rico didn't die, no street beef. He found out something about the money, about Tone cutting deals with people from both sides. He tried to confront him. 2 nights later, he got set up on a fake drop. Never came back." My chest tightened. "Who told you that?" She shook her head. "Don't ask me that, D. People talk, but talking gets you killed now. Just don't go at him head on. He ain't the same Tone you knew." I stared down the alley, where the streetlights flickered over old graffiti. The words "no tears" glowed faintly on the brick. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Neither am I." The next day, I went looking for proof. Reggie hooked me up with one of the few old heads still connected. Slim, a mechanic who used to handle the cruise cars back in the day. Slim had gone mostly legit, but he kept his ears open. When I found him in his garage, he looked up, surprised but not scared. "Dee Stone. Damn, boy, you a blast from the past." "I need answers," I said. He wiped his hands. "About what?" "Rico." Slim hesitated, then nodded toward the back. We stepped into the storage room, smell of oil and gasoline thick in the air. "I don't know much," he said, "but I remember that night. Tone brought in Rico's car after it went down. Said it was for cleanup. But when I opened the trunk, he stopped, swallowing hard. Blood everywhere. Not bullet spray, close range." My jaw clenched. "You telling me he was executed?" "I'm telling you somebody wanted it quiet. And whoever that was, they had pull." I left before Slim could say more. Outside, the sun felt colder. I didn't go home. I drove the old Cutlass down to the riverbed, parked under the bridge, and sat there with the engine off, thinking. Tone had killed Rico. I didn't need more proof. I could feel in my bones. The question was why. Maybe Rico found out Tone was playing both sides. Maybe he found out the money wasn't clean, that Tone had started running business through dirty cops and rival sets. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe Tone just couldn't stand anyone else wearing the crown. Either way, it didn't matter. He betrayed the code, and the code was all we had left. That night, I wrote Rico's name on a piece of cardboard and left it on the bridge where he died. Then I made a promise. Quiet, simple, deadly. Before this is over, the truth gonna walk these streets again. The next evening, I walked into Tone's shop again. But this time, I wasn't looking for answers. I was looking for tells. He was at his desk, counting cash with Spider standing behind him. When he saw me, he smiled like nothing had changed. Back so soon. Needed to talk. About what? About Rico. Spider shifted. Tone's smile faltered. What about him? I found a guy who cleaned his car. Tone leaned back, expression unreadable. You've been busy. Yeah, you taught me that. Always handle my own business. He stood up slowly, eyes never leaving mine. You think you know something? I know enough. For a long moment. The room was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent light. Then Tone nodded to Spider. Leave us. When we were alone, he walked around the desk, close enough for me to smell his cologne. Expensive, sharp, foreign to these streets. Let me make something clear, he said quietly. This block runs because of me. The peace we got, the money flowing, the cops looking the other way. That's me. You? Your history. A name people whisper about. But I live here now. He leaned in, eyes hard. Don't go digging up ghosts, Dee. They don't like to be disturbed. I didn't flinch. Maybe. But ghosts got long memories. I left before I did something stupid. Outside, the night felt electric, that calm before a storm. The city lights flickered off the hood of my car like warning signs. I could have walked away. Could have gone home, told my mama I was done, packed up, disappeared. But that ain't who I was. And I sure as hell wasn't letting Tone write history without my side in it. Back at my mama's house, I sat on the porch and watched the street. Kids playing, music thumping from a passing car, sirens echoing far away. Same song, different decade. Then a car slowed down in front of the house. Windows tinted, lights off. I stood up. The car lingered, then rolled on. No plats. I smiled grimly. Tone's warning wasn't just talk. He'd already started moving. I lit a cigarette, even though I'd quit years ago, and said quietly to the dark street, if you're coming for me, Tone, make sure you finish the job. Because I wasn't hiding anymore, and I wasn't afraid to bleed for the truth. You ever stand so close to hell that you start to feel its breath on your skin? That's how Wilmington felt the week after Tone's warning. Every sound was sharper. Every glance carried weight. And I could feel eyes on me everywhere I went. I wasn't paranoid. Tone had put something in motion. I just didn't know when it would hit. 3 nights later, Reggie came by the house, looking jumpy. He was wearing his work uniform from the auto yard, but his eyes were darting around like a man running from his own shadow. Dee, we need to talk, he said, stepping inside before I even answered. What's wrong? He shut the door, lowered his voice. Spider and them. They've been asking about you. Tone told him you've been talking to people, stirring things up. People like who? Like Maya. Like Slim. I frowned. So what? Reggie grabbed my arm. So they think you planning something. Word is, they want to make an example out of you. I looked at him. This man who once carried a gun for me, who used to laugh like the world couldn't touch him. Now he looked scared. Reggie, I said slowly, you telling me this cause you care, or cause they told you to? He froze, couldn't meet my eyes. That told me everything. I sighed. You still owe me one favor, don't you? He nodded weakly. Then listen close. You tell Tone I'm done asking questions. You tell him I'm leaving town. Reggie blinked. You serious? Dead serious. I'm gonna make it easy for him. All he gotta do is let me walk. It was a lie, of course. But it was the kind of lie that buys time. That night, I packed a duffel, old clothes, some cash, my piece. But I didn't pack for leaving. I packed for war. Because if Tone thought I was going quietly, he didn't know me at all. The streets were quiet that night. Even the stray dogs kept their heads down. I drove past the block where we used to run as kids, the basketball court with the broken rim, the corner store with bars on the windows. Back then, we fought for territory like it meant something. Now, the territory was fighting for us, chewing us up, spitting us out. When I reached Maya's place, the lights were off. I knocked twice, waited. No answer. I turned to leave, but then I heard a soft voice behind the door. Dee. She opened it a crack, eyes wide. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Neither should you, I said. We need to talk. She let me in, closed the door quick. Inside, the place smelled like cigarettes and fear. You heard what they're saying? She asked. I heard enough. They're planning to take you out tonight. I try to warn you, but they're watching me too. You gotta go. I shook my head. I'm not running. Then you're dying, she said, voice cracking. Tone already made the call. I took a deep breath. Then I guess it's time to make mine. She grabbed my arm. Dee, please. Don't do this. He'll kill you. I looked at her, eyes steady. He already killed the only man who ever called me brother. This ain't about revenge no more. It's about the code. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't stop me when I walked out. The auto shop was dark when I got there. Only one light was on, in the back office. I could hear voices inside. Tone's voice. And another one, Spider. I crept around the side, hand on my gun, listening. Reggie said he's leaving, Spider was saying. You think he's for real? Tone laughed. Stone don't leave. He waits. He plots. That's who he is. We end it tonight. Then I heard him load a gun. Metal, cold and final. Spider asked, You want me to handle it? Tone paused. No, I'll do it myself. He deserves that much. I stepped out of the shadows. Appreciate that, I said. Both of them froze. Tone turned slowly, eyes wide, mouth curling into a smirk. Well, damn. Speak of the devil. I kept the gun low, steady. You lied to me. Probably, he said. Depends on what story you're talking about. Rico. His face hardened. You really want to do this here? I want to do it right here. He sighed, motioned for Spider to step back. Go on, Spider. This between me and him. Spider hesitated, then slipped out the side door. The air between us thickened. Years of loyalty, betrayal, and blood floating like smoke. Tone set his gun on the desk, palms open. You think I want a Rico dead? You think I was easy for me? You pulled the trigger, Tone. He shook his head. No, I gave the order, but it wasn't supposed to go that way. He got greedy, Dee. Started talking to the cops, selling us out. That's a lie. Maybe, but in this life, lies and truth bleed the same. I stepped closer, fury boiling under my skin. You killed the one man who believed in both of us. He met my eyes. He stopped believing. That's worse. I raised the gun, but my hands trembled. Tone didn't flinch. You really gonna do this? He said softly. After everything we built? For a second, I saw us as kids, stealing bikes, running from cops, swearing we'd never turn on each other. But that was a lifetime ago. You already did, I said. Tone smiled, slow and sad. Then do what you came to do. I hesitated, and that's when the window shattered. Bullets ripped through the room. I hit the floor, glass raining down. Tone dove behind the desk, grabbing his gun. Outside, I heard engines, at least 3 cars pulling up. Then Spider's voice yelling, He's in there. It wasn't a setup between me and Tone. It was a setup for both of us. Tone fired back, shattering the doorframe. He sighed, he shouted. They found us. I crawled behind the counter, returning fire through the broken window. The street lit up with muzzle flashes. Somewhere, tires screeched. Somebody screamed. Tone ducked beside me, reloading. We gotta move. You first, I muttered. He glanced at me, half amused, half desperate. You always did have bad timing. We ran out the back, through the alley, bullets chasing our heels. One grazed my arm. Another smashed the taillight of a parked car. We dove behind a dumpster, panting. Tone looked at me, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "This you're doing? You think I called East Side to crash your party?" He gritted his teeth. Then who the hell? Before he could finish, a car pulled up at the end of the alley. The door opened, and Spider stepped out, gun in hand. "Tone," he called. "You done, old man? You slowing us down?" Tone stared, disbelief on his face. "You set this up?" Spider shrugged. "You built an empire. I'm just taking the crown." Then he aimed at Tone. "I didn't think. I just moved." The shot went off, but I hit Spider from the side, the bullet missing Tone and sparking off brick. We wrestled for the gun, crashing against trash cans, fists flying. Spider was faster, younger, hungry. He slammed me against the wall, tried to choke me with his forearm. "Should have stayed gone, old man," he hissed. Then I heard Tone's voice behind me, low, steady. "Don't touch my brother." The gun went off again. Spider's eyes widened, then he dropped. Tone stood over him, smoke curling from his weapon. For a second, everything was silent. Then sirens started howling in the distance. Tone looked at me, bleeding, shaking, alive. "We gotta go," he said. We ended up at the river, same place Rico died. Tone leaned against the car, holding his side. "You believe me now?" he asked. "I believe you killed the wrong man." He laughed weakly. "Maybe, but tell me something. You ever think about what comes next? After all this?" I looked at the dark water. "Ain't no after in this life." "Maybe there is," he said. "Maybe we just never lived long enough to see it." He coughed, blood staining his shirt. I stepped closer. "You're hit bad." He waved it off. "Don't matter. Spider did me a favor. I've been tired for years, Dee." Then his eyes softened, like the weight of every sin was finally catching up. "I didn't mean for it to go this way. Rico, he was family. But the streets don't care about blood. Only power." He looked up at me, voice cracking. "Promise me something. Don't let this be all that's left of us." I swallowed hard. "I can't promise that." He smiled faintly. "Didn't think you could." Then he handed me his gun. "Do it before the cops get here." I shook my head. "No, you owe me that much. I owe you nothing." We stared at each other. Brothers, enemies, survivors. Then Tone looked at the water one last time and whispered, "Guess I'll see Rico first." He raised the gun before I could stop him. The shot echoed across the river. By the time the cops arrived, Tone was gone. Spider's body turned up hours later, dumped in the alley. They blamed it on gang crossfire. No one asked questions. I gave my statement, kept it clean, walked out before sunrise. The city was quiet again, too quiet, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something that would never come. I went back to the bridge, stood where Rico's name still faintly marked the concrete. The river below moved slow, heavy, like it carried all our ghosts. For the first time in years, I let myself cry. Not for Tone, not even for Rico, but for the kid I used to be, the one who thought loyalty could save him. When the tears stopped, I said the only prayer I knew: "Forgive us for what we became." Then I turned and walked away. The week after Tone's death felt like the city was holding a funeral no one wanted to attend. The sky stayed gray. The air smelled like burnt rubber and regret. Wilmington was quiet again, but it wasn't peace. It was just emptiness. They say when a storm ends, you can finally hear your own heartbeat. Mine sounded like guilt. The word spread fast. Tone's gone. Spider too. Some said the East Sides did it. Others said it was me. No one really cared about the truth, just who could fill the vacuum. That's how the block works. One man dies, another steps up, and the rest of us just watch history repeat itself. I spent those days drifting, sleeping in my car, smoking too much, thinking too loud. Every street corner looked like a memory. Every face looked like a ghost. Then one night, I drove past Rico's old spot, the same liquor store he used to run numbers out of. And that's when I saw them. 3 young kids, maybe 16, posted up outside. Blue bandanas, cheap guns tucked into their waistbands like trophies. It looked like us. One of them noticed me staring. "What you looking at, old head?" he said, half laughing. I almost smiled. Old head. I guess that's what I become. I rolled down the window. "You boys know what block this is?" "Wilmington," he said proudly. We hold this now. Yeah, I said. Then you better hold it tight. I drove off, but my chest felt heavy because I knew how their story would end. Same as ours, same as every generation before. Blood on the pavement, names on t-shirts, mothers crying over candles. And for the first time, I realized something I never had before. The block didn't need saving. It needed escaping. A few days later, Maya found me sitting in my car by the river. She slid into the passenger seat without asking. "You look worse than usual," she said softly. "I've been worse. Tone's gone. Spider's gone. You're still here. What are you gonna do now?" I shrugged. "Ain't that the question of the year?" She looked out the window, eyes wet. "You could leave, you know. Start over." "Start what?" "A new life with old ghosts." "Dee, I don't even know who I am without this street." She turned to me then, her voice sharp. "You think that's something to be proud of?" That hit harder than I expected, because she wasn't wrong. She reached in her purse, pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a bus ticket, one way to Oakland. "I bought it for you," she said. "If you stay here, you'll die here. And I'm tired of burying people I love." For a long time, I didn't say anything. The only sound was the water below and the hum of the freeway. "I can't just walk away," I said finally. "Not while the set's still tearing itself apart." She looked at me like I was insane. "You still think you can fix this?" "Maybe not, but I can make sure no more kids end up like us." She sighed, wiped her eyes, and whispered, "Then promise me one thing." "What's that?" "When it's over, you will leave." I nodded. "If I make it that far." The next day, I met with a few of the old heads, people who used to run with Tone before everything fell apart. Reggie showed up too, looking like a man with a permanent apology carved on his face. We sat in the back of the auto shop, lights dim, the smell of oil and metal thick in the air. "Eastside moving in," one of them said. "They taking Tone's corners." "Let him," another replied. "Ain't worth dying for." I looked around the room. Tired men pretending they still had fight left. "This ain't about turf no more," I said. "It's about cleaning up what's left before the cops do it for us." Reggie frowned. "You mean call a truce?" "Yeah, call it whatever you want. I just know Tone's death left chaos. And chaos brings cops, body bags, and more ghosts." Someone laughed bitterly. "You sound like you running for office, Dee." "Maybe I'm just tired," I said. "Maybe I just want the block to breathe again." They didn't trust me. Not yet. But they listened. And sometimes, that's the first step towards something real. By nightfall, I hit the streets again, checking corners, talking to kids, making sure no one pulled the trigger before morning. Most didn't even know who Tone was. To them, the name was just another story whispered under streetlights. That's how fast legends die in this place. At one point, I found myself standing on Wilmington and Elm, the same corner where Rico used to post up every Friday night. The light from the liquor store flickered on and off, buzzing like a dying heart. And in that flicker, I saw it all. The faces, the laughter, the fear. Rico, Tone, Spider, all of them gone, and me still standing. Later that night, I walked back to my car and noticed something strange. The rear window was cracked, a small hole like from a bullet. My stomach tightened. I turned slowly and saw a shadow move across the alley. Then another. I ducked behind a dumpster just as the first shot rang out. Sparks flew off the car. Two shooters, young, reckless, loud. "Where's he at?" one shouted. "He behind the bins." I pulled my gun, peeked out, fired twice. One went down, the other scrambled back, shooting blind. The echo bounced off the walls, metallic, endless. Then silence. When it was over, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from recognition. Those kids weren't enemies. They were ours. Same blue rags. Same tattoos. My own set, trying to kill me. I sat there for a long time, staring at the blood on the pavement. That's when I realized loyalty ain't a code. It's a curse. It keeps you chained to ghosts and memories until there's nothing left of you but scars. By dawn, I made my choice. The next day, I called a meeting. Every remaining lieutenant, every soldier who still claimed Wilmington. We met in the back lot behind the old rec center. Half the faces were new. The other half were tired. The sun beat down hard, like it was trying to burn the city clean. I stood in front of them, heart pounding. "I ain't here to be nobody's boss," I said. "I ain't here to run the set. I'm here to tell you this ends now." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some laughed, some cursed. A young one, maybe 19, stepped forward. "Man, you talking crazy. Tone dead, spider dead. Somebody gotta keep it moving." I nodded. "Yeah, but that somebody don't have to die doing it." He spat on the ground. "Ain't no other way." I walked right up to him. "Then maybe it's time there was." He stared at me for a long moment, and then slowly lowered his eyes. One by one, the others followed. Some left in silence. Some stayed like they wanted to believe this old man still knew something worth following. When the meeting ended, I stood alone under the hot sun, sweat dripping, breath heavy. And for the first time, the street was quiet. Not empty, not hostile, just quiet. Maya's words echoed in my head. "If you stay here, you'll die here." Maybe she was right. But maybe dying wasn't just about losing your life. Maybe it was about losing your purpose. That night, I drove to her apartment. She opened the door before I even knocked. "You're late," she said. "I had to bury something first." "What?" "The past." She smiled, tired, sad, but real. "Please tell me you brought that ticket." I held it up, creased and worn. "Guess it's time." We sat together in silence for a while. The city outside hummed. Distant sirens, laughter, the heartbeat of a place that never really sleeps. I told her about the meeting, about the kids, about the moment I almost died. She listened, tears in her eyes. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You can't save a place that don't want saving, Dee. But you can save yourself." And in that moment, I realized maybe redemption wasn't about staying or leaving. Maybe it was about choosing. The next morning, I stood on the bus platform with my duffel over my shoulder. The ticket felt heavy in my hand. The air smelled like dust and diesel. Behind me, Wilmington stretched out, sunlight spilling over rooftops, smoke rising in the distance. It was ugly and beautiful all at once. My home, my curse. I looked down the tracks. The bus was coming. Maya squeezed my hand. "You ready?" I smiled faintly. "I don't think I'll ever be ready, but I'm going anyway." The doors hissed open. I took one last look at the city, at the ghosts that built me, the sins that shaped me, the brothers I'd lost. Then I stepped inside. As the bus pulled away, I saw a group of kids on the corner, laughing, tossing a basketball back and forth. For a split second, one of them looked up and waved, like he recognized me, even though he couldn't. And maybe that's how it should be. New faces, same streets, same struggle. But maybe, just maybe this time, somebody breaks the cycle. I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes, and whispered to myself, "No tears on Wilmington," because there weren't any left to cry. I sat in that interrogation room long enough for the blood on my hands to dry into something darker than guilt. The clock above the door didn't tick. It dragged time like a chain behind it. Somewhere out there, Tone was gone, Malik was gone, and Wilmington Avenue was just another street that chewed up everything it loved. They never proved it was me who pulled the trigger. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe the streets already decided what kind of ending I deserved. When they finally let me go, it was almost sunrise. I stepped outside, and the city looked like it had aged with me. Cracked, tired, still pretending it was alive. Compton never sleeps. It just blinks slow. The air smelled like asphalt and ghost stories. Sirens in the distance. A dog barking somewhere behind a chain-link fence. I walked down Central, my shoes scraping through dust and glass. Every corner whispered something. Voices of fools and kings, of kids who thought they'd live forever. I used to be one of them. Now, I was just Dee Stone, the last man standing on a street that had no loyalty left. I went back to Mama's old house, even though she'd been gone 10 years. The front steps still creaked, and the porch light flickered like it was trying to remember who it used to shine for. Inside, everything was exactly how we left it, except smaller, quieter. I sat in the dark for hours. No music, no noise, just the hum of memory. Rico's laughter in the backyard. Tone's old chain hanging from the doorknob. Malik's voice calling from the block, telling me we were going to make it big. I used to think the streets were alive, breathing, moving, talking to us through gun smoke and bass lines. But they ain't alive. They just mirror whoever's left standing. And when all your people gone, the street just shows you your reflection. Word traveled fast, like it always does. They said I handled Tone, that I took back the block, that I was the one who ended the bloodline of Wilmington Avenue. But I didn't feel like no king. I felt empty. I didn't even keep the money Tone left behind. I took what I needed, enough to keep the lights on, enough to disappear if I wanted to. But I didn't. I stayed. Maybe because I owed something. Not to the block, not to the name, but to the ghost still walking it. So I started showing up at that old basketball court every morning, the one behind the apartments where the paint on the backboard was gone and the nets were just frayed string. Kids would come by, looking at me like I was some legend they heard about in whispers. I didn't tell them stories. I just rebounded shots and told them to keep their heads up. One of them, a kid named Dre, asked me once, "Yo, OG, what's it like when you get out?" I looked at him, and for a second, I saw myself. Same wide eyes, same hunger for respect, same belief that bullets were a shortcut to manhood. I said, "It's quiet, too quiet, and sometimes that's the loudest thing you'll ever hear." He didn't understand. Not yet, but maybe one day he would. Sometimes, when a night's too still, I hear them. Rico's laugh, Tone's voice, the echo of that night when everything changed. The alley where I found my brother's chain is just another cut through now, littered with trash and silence. But every time I pass it, I stop, just for a second, just to remember, not the gunshots, not the betrayal, but the moments before all that, when we were kids, before we learned what power costs. There was a time when Tone and I dreamed of leaving Compton. We used to talk about opening a car shop, fixing lowriders, maybe heading to Vegas and starting fresh. Funny how dreams get twisted in the concrete, turned into something sharp, dangerous. Now it's just me and those memories. And somehow that's enough. A few months after Tone's death, I visited the cemetery. It was early morning, fog sitting low, dew still fresh on the grass. Rico's grave was on the left, Tone's on the right. Two headstones, same street, different sides forever. I brought flowers, but I didn't say much. I just stood there, letting the wind do the talking. It felt like the only real peace I'd known in years. When I turned to leave, I caught my reflection in a puddle, older, harder, but still breathing. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't see a soldier or a survivor. I just saw a man who made it out barely. Maybe that's the closest thing to redemption we get. Later that night, I sat on the hood of my car, watching the city lights blink like dying stars. The radio played some old DJ quick joint, the kind we used to ride back in the day. I thought about everything we did, everything we lost, everything we became. They'll tell stories about Tone, about Rico, maybe even about me. But the truth is, there ain't no heroes in this. Just kids who grew up too fast, chasing crowns made of rust. Still, if I had the chance to do it all over again, to save them, to change it, I'd take it, even if it meant going down with them. Because for all the pain, the blood, the betrayal, those are my brothers. And brotherhood don't die easy. It's been years now. The block looks different. The corner store got a fresh coat of paint. The liquor store's gone, turned into a check cashing spot. But the rhythm of the neighborhood? Still the same heartbeat. Slow, heavy, unbroken. Sometimes I see Tone's little cousin running deliveries on his bike. Sometimes I catch Rico's mom lighting candles near the alley. Life moves even when it hurts too. And me? I'm just watching, keeping the peace in my own quiet way. When the kids ask why I don't smile much, I tell them. Because I've seen what happens when you forget to listen to silence. The night I finally left Compton, I didn't tell nobody. I packed a single bag, grabbed my keys, and drove. Past every corner, every block, every ghost. When I hit the freeway, the city faded behind me, streetlights melting into horizon. I rolled down the window, and let the wind hit my face. For once, I didn't feel haunted. Didn't feel haunted either. Just free. But as the skyline disappeared in the rear view, I whispered one last thing under my breath. Not a prayer, not a goodbye, just a promise. Wilmington Avenue, you'll always have a piece of me, but I ain't yours no more. And for the first time since Rico died, I meant it. The world outside Compton ain't perfect, but at least it's quiet. I work in a garage now, fixing cars like we used to dream about. I keep Tone's chain in my toolbox, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Every time I hear an engine hum, I think about how something broken can still run. Maybe people are like that too. We break, we bleed, we burn, but if there's even a little bit of fire left, we keep moving. So that's what I do. Keep moving. And when I close the shop each night, I step outside, look up at the sky, and think of my brothers. Somewhere out there, maybe they finally found peace. And if they did, maybe one day I will too.